Alright guys, how's it going? In this video, I'm going to be discussing some common objections that prospects typically have when you're talking about potentially doing SEO for them. Obviously, you're still in the sales process with them right now, but obviously I've been in the SEO industry for over 10 years. During that time, I've worked at agencies, I've worked in-house at big brands and hired agencies, and I've also owned my own agency. And during that process, I've really seen this sort of sales scenario from every possible angle. And a big part of any sales process, really, whether you're selling SEO or you're selling cars or consulting services, it could be anything. There are always going to be objections, common objections that come up within your particular product or service or industry. And with SEO, there are very common objections that come up. So I thought I'd share 3 of them in this video. There were a lot. I wanted to just produce a video for you guys this week because the response to the last video that I did last week was awesome. So I thought, I was actually having a conversation with a guy, Adam, who's just been doing SEO for a short while. Adam's got some really good results. He's only got one client right now, but he's got some really good results for that client, and he just wanted some advice as to how to be better at selling. And sort of, I suppose, just some tips that I could share with him. So there are a lot of tips that I can share with you when it comes to selling SEO, but for the sake of keeping this video concise, I'm just going to share 3 right now, and then maybe I'll do future videos to share more of them. All right. So the first one is, how big is your agency? So this typically comes up with corporate or enterprise size clients. A big buying point for them is, what is the size of the agency? What's the size of the team? I can tell you that the size of the agency is absolutely no reflection on the quality of the SEO or the outcome of that campaign. There are agencies out there that look huge, but for the most part, they are just a call center. And it's normally there'll be an outbound sales call center there, and then a client retention call center. And then the number of actual qualified SEOs that work there are actually quite few. Normally they just drive the sales team. So, big agencies don't mean a whole lot, but there are still some old school people, running marketing departments or that are in charge of the budget at these enterprise level businesses. So this is just something that comes up quite a lot. So my best advice to you on this point is to be completely honest. And if you find that you're too small, so if you're a freelancer right now, or you have a small agency, maybe it's just you and 1 or 2 other people, or something in that sort of area, my advice to you from the outset would be, go for clients that are in your league right now. And I know that might sound slightly critical. I'm sure that you could deliver fantastic results for these enterprise level clients, especially from a strategy perspective. However, if you find that a lot of them are asking you this question and you feel like you might have to start misleading people to get a chance at these contracts, my advice would be to scale of smaller to medium sized businesses, typically ones where this isn't a huge concern, especially, some of those clients are actually thinking, well, if it's a smaller team, it might mean that I'm paying a little bit less than I would be if I was going to a bigger agency. So that there's almost like a positive buying signal to small to medium sized businesses off the back of you being a smaller agency or a freelancer. So bear that in mind. The other thing is as well, if you feel like you are going to start misleading people by having, a meet the team section on the website, and you've got loads of stock photos on there, and, you say, oh, there's 15, 20 people work here. This is Stephen, this is, Angelo, and all these people that you've just made up, that can really bite you in the arse eventually, because, they're going to want to speak to these people on the telephone or, in a face-to-face meeting, or at least over a Zoom session or something like that. They not just want to keep seeing your face, they're going to want to see all of these people that you've said existed. It's not uncommon for clients to want to come and see the office as part of the buying process. They know that probably a lot of the agencies out there are a little bit dishonest about the size of the business. So make sure that you just say what is true. Tell the truth and just be honest. If you're a 3-person agency and you don't have an office, say that. Say, we all work remotely. We have daily video sessions. We can have a Zoom call, or if necessary, you can book a temporary meeting space at something like a Regus offices or a WeWork or something like that. You can hire meeting spaces for the hour or 2 hours, maybe put some food on and just have a face-to-face meeting like that. Just make sure it's in a nice professional environment, but there's no need to be dishonest and say, oh, we work here, because then a percentage of your energy is going to be wasted on trying to maintain this facade. So bear that in mind. This is a buying signal for some businesses. Again, typically these are corporate or enterprise size clients. So just be honest, set yourself up for an easy time with them. They might even check to see if you've got things like business insurance. They might want to look at your filing history on Companies House. So again, it's not difficult for them to see through, a facade of with this big agency. If they know what they're doing, they'll find that out pretty quick. Okay, cool. So the second point is, do you have a proven track record? So really what a client is looking for if they make an inquiry like this, really what they're asking for is things like case studies. That they want to make sure that you're credible, and they want the reassurance that you've gotten results for people that are, either in their industry or at least businesses of similar types, or similar niches. For example, if you were pitching on an SEO campaign for a cosmetic dentist or a private dental practice, if you had a case study for, let's say, a plastic surgery clinic or something, it's not the same, but it's similar enough to be relevant, similar enough for that to be a local campaign, but you've still established them as like a trustworthy website in the medical niche, so that's just something to bear in mind. Now, if you're early on in your sort of journey and you're just getting your first couple of clients, or maybe if you don't have a client at all yet, it may be that you can't produce case studies. It may be that, you've not got clients yet, SEO, perhaps you've taken a course, perhaps you've helped out on some other SEO campaigns, but for whatever reason, you can't lay claim to a case study. You can't publish something on your website or in a PDF where if this prospect was to reach out and contact that business and say, oh, do you know this person? They said you did your SEO. You don't want them to go, I've never heard of them. You want to make sure that these case studies are people that you'd be happy for the client to contact. So if you don't have case studies, a bit of advice that I offered Adam last night was to look at other case studies that have been published on the internet and basically give commentary on those case studies as an expert, right? So you can go to websites like Quora, SEMrush publish case studies on their blog all the time, and there might be an example. I think the example I showed Adam last night was there was a case study on the SEMrush blog, and it was how a local bakery got 400 times more organic traffic using an SEO agency. Now, obviously, the context of that article was they wanted to talk about the SEO agency using their tool, SEMrush, to get these results. However, if you was to read that case study and unpack the strategy and put it into your own words, so let's say the agency used SEMrush to do keyword research, then they used it to do a backlink analysis, they used it to identify content gaps, and then they created content for the website, put it into the right pages, and then they saw the uplift. Okay, well, you could reword that to say how a local bakery saw a 400% increase in organic traffic using SEO services. Okay, so now all of a sudden that becomes quite generic. It's about SEO as a practice in general. And then you could say, here's the steps that the bakery took to get this 400% increase in organic traffic. Keyword research, so they identified the right keywords that would drive the right sort of customers to the website. Content research and development, blah, blah, blah. Content. I'm not going to teach you SEO right now. You obviously will know this at this point. But you can talk about this in a sort of general way, the step-by-step process. Don't talk about the fact there was an agency doing it. Just like, this is how the bakery saw that growth, okay? And then you could publish a case study like that on your LinkedIn, on your blog, whatever it is, and then a call to action can go in there. If you're interested in growing your online visibility or your online presence, using this strategy or a similar strategy that's built for your brand, contact me. And I'd be happy to put a quote and a plan together for you. There's a case study. It does the exact same job as a case study. It just doesn't. It's just the case that you didn't do it, and you never said that you did it. But the fact that you're talking about it with authority, and you come across as an expert, and you come across as someone that's got perspective on this SEO process, that gives you credibility itself. That's like, you could be walking down the street with someone and say, oh, look at this building. Yeah, you can see it was built such and such as, it was built like this and it's using these kind of supporting walls or whatever. I don't know anything about architecture. I probably should have picked a better example. But you would think, well, obviously this guy didn't build this building, but he knows a lot about buildings. Maybe you could build my shed, or whatever. So hopefully that makes sense. You give yourself credibility by talking about a case study in a way that is, you come across as an authority on the subject. Hopefully that makes sense. And then finally, sometimes they might ask to speak to existing clients. So this can be tricky. It doesn't come up so often that I think, you couldn't get your first few clients without this sending you off track. But sometimes this does come up. They might ask for contact details for existing clients that would be happy to speak to them. A lot of the time, some clients might be under non-disclosure agreements or NDAs, so you wouldn't want to put those ones forward if that is the case. But if you have any clients that you've done a really good job for, that you've got a great relationship with, then obviously that's just a nice thing to deploy, so they'll put in a good word for you. It's always a good idea to maintain a healthy relationship with your clients, even if it's just, it's the birthday or, some sort of, you send a gift out at, Christmas or, St. Patrick's Day or something like that. That might be a good example. So just keep existing clients sweet. Obviously, make sure you're doing a good job for them, but also bear in mind that they might be your ambassadors and make referrals for you or even speak directly to prospects on your behalf further down the line. Okay, and can you guarantee results? So this is probably the second most common objection that you'll get. The first being, how long does it take? But I'll do how long does it take in another video. Can you guarantee results? So the best way to combat this objection, because the answer to this is no. You know that the answer is no. You can't guarantee results as an SEO. If you did guarantee results, in my opinion, that'd be weird and it'd be dodgy because it's not how SEO works. You don't know how much, what sort of budget their competitors are spending on SEO. You don't know what sort of SEO strategy the competitors have got in the pipeline right now. You can see what they've implemented to date, but you don't know if they're going to all of a sudden start investing thousands of pounds in SEO in 2 months' time that would derail your progress a little bit. SEO progress, you have to sort of monitor in real time and project in real time. And I typically won't really give anyone any sort of indication of results until I've had time on the account for months at that point to see what kind of momentum it picks up. Okay? But the best way around this anyway is basically to make sure that you're educating these prospects at the beginning of your relationship. So before they get to answering this question, you want to have already told them how SEO works, right? So SEO compared to other digital marketing practices can be a little bit more of a long game. The changes that you're making in the initial couple of months of the campaign may not begin to pay off until month 3 or 4, or even longer, depending on how competitive of a nature it is. I myself have ranked a website number 1 in the search results in 3 weeks. On the flip side of the scale, I've ranked websites for extremely competitive keywords. It's taken over 12 months to do that because of the size of the gap there was to close. And how you don't know how quickly or slowly it's going to move until you're already in the throes of working on it, in my opinion. So really what I would do is make sure that you explain to them SEO is a long game. If you're looking for instant results, take that budget and go and put it in PPC. Once you have a highly functional PPC campaign, come back to me. Because if you're looking for instant results, SEO probably isn't the one, unless you want to rank for something extremely long tail and non-competitive. If they still want you to guarantee results after you've been through the process of explaining how SEO works, the reasons why it would be weird for you to guarantee results, if they still want to push you to committing to some sort of guarantee, we want to be ranking number 1 for this keyword by this date, and they want that sort of thing in the contract, or a paper trail of you having a conversation like that by email, it's likely what they want to do is to be able to pressure you into giving them a refund if it doesn't work within whatever in their imaginary time frame that they've come up with. So if they pressure you to put guarantees into a contract or an email, they're not respecting how SEO works. They're not respecting the fact that you're going to be spending a lot of time on this. This is still time that you're being paid for your labor, but they need to understand how SEO works as they come in the door. And then it's a question of whether or not SEO is for them or not. It's not a case of whether or not you are for them. It's a case of whether or not SEO is for them or not. If other agencies or freelancers have guaranteed them results, or if they're saying that other companies or freelancers have guaranteed them results, let them go, because they'll probably try and use that to pressure you into getting an agreement with you. One thing that can be a happy compromise are projections, but again, these should be very loose, because it's difficult even to project how SEO or organic traffic might grow. You could project that perhaps keywords that are on the first page might climb a couple of places on a month-to-month basis. Again, rankings on the first page are a lot less volatile and they move much more slowly. However, rankings, if they're on page 5 or 6 or 9 or 10 of the search results, it's likely that they'll see that keyword jump up quite quickly, because keywords on the lower pages are quite volatile. So they might see some really good growth there. But really, that's as much of a guarantee as I would give. I might say, here's everything that you rank for. These are your priority keywords. This one is position 8 right now. We should aim to have this to position 5 or 4 within 3 months, but there's a chance it might not get there. You just really, really want to be careful in the language that you use. And it's not because you're doing a bad job. It's just that hopefully you know by now how uncertain SEO can be, and it really is a case of, let's do everything that we know to be best practice, let's see how it responds, let's let that bed in, and then at that point let's see where the weaker areas are, let's see what sort of gap the competitors have on us now. And again, the best way to get around that is to educate your prospect at the very beginning of the relationship. Okay, so those are the 3 tips that I've got to share with you, the 3 semi-common objections. There are some more common objections that I can share with you as well, and some good sort of workarounds for that. But as you can tell, I'll drag a slide out quite a lot, so I didn't want to put 10 slides in here because I'd probably have you watching for like an hour and a half. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. Please do let me know if there's anything in particular, especially around SEO sales or SEO objections or obstacles that you're having when it comes to selling SEO or just getting yourself out there. Let me know. I'm really interested in making more content specifically like this when it comes to the business development side of things. I will still do some more SEO tutorials and guides, walkthroughs and stuff. I'll try and just keep smashing a video a week out for now, and I want to make sure that it's what you want basically. So do let me know in the comments. Drop me a subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. All right, take it easy.